Welcome back to CB750. We're going to be carrying on from where we left off. In fact, first up, we're going to be reverting to an original side stand. Yeah, I'm not happy with that one. I tested it while it was still on the chain and it was all too precarious. As you may remember, I managed to procure a genuine Honda CB750 side stand, complete with funky rubber bit. So we'll be putting that on. Yeah, haven't got a spring for it though. Well, there it is, and it looks better, for sure, but actually it's not. This bastard still wants to fall over the other way. What the hell? Is it because we've lowered the front forks? Is that what it is? At this point, I don't know what else to do, because you can't get a shorter one than that. You have to make something. Who knew such a tiny, insignificant part could be such a major pain in the arse? What the hell? It was $15, so there we go. One shortened, ridiculously short side stand. Let's see what that. For the purposes of this test, you may notice I've only put one of the bolts in, and I haven't put a spacer in, so it's all a bit rickety. But let's just see if it's the right bloody angle. We have loose chains. We have a bike standing on a side stand. Hooray! It's a little bit precarious the other way, with the wheel the other way. So, yeah, as long as you're on flat ground, or ground leaning towards the left, then you're alright. Right, suppose I'll have to take that all off, tidy it up and put it all back on properly again. I need a genuine CB750 side stand, refurbished. Which brings us on to springs and things. And obviously the one that came with it, well actually that came with the first one, because the second one didn't have a spring. Anyway, that's far too long. Luckily we have a lot of these for fixing exhausts, and the one that I didn't use on the Delcovic exhaust on that Honda is the perfect fit. So there it is, all tucked up out of the way, sprung. Cool. Right, now can we get on with something important? Cheers. Suppose we better have a look at that seat, hadn't we? Although I'm not sure what to do. I know. I'd started looking at these side covers because they got hex bolts on, but I thought Allen nuts would be nicer bolts. So I'm looking at taking those off, obviously repainting them, working out why the clutch is so stiff. I don't know if you remember that, but the operation of the clutch is somewhat hindered, I think. So we'll see if we can find anything when we take the cover off. That's those ones swapped out, nice and easy. We're not going to do anything with that cover, we're just going to clean it up. It's not in bad nick. Nor with the bolts, to be honest, except one pretty horribly rusty. Oops, should have read the manual. Yes, the clutch on the Honda CB750 is a wet multi-blades type. Imagine my surprise when oil came flooding out. Anyway, we rescued the situation, and that looks like the stator to me around the outside of the clutch. I've never seen this before. As you know, I'm learning as I go. So it's off. It's not a disaster. Luckily it was on this wood, so otherwise there would have been a lake in here. So it's been absorbed by the wood. I think I need to cover that up while we tidy up the cover itself, and then put it back on. Good news is the oil that came out looks pretty good actually, bearing in mind that's in a crappy old bowl. So I'm guessing the kid has done an oil change. Looked very good condition, so we'll just need to top it up once we put everything back. Clutch mechanism itself looks fine, not overly stiff or anything, so don't know really. Can't imagine it's that hinge, but that's been oiled up now. Rescued the gasket, which also looks pretty new, so it's just a question of cleaning it up, painting it up and putting it back on again, honestly. Just for added fun, I managed to ping the mechanism there out of place. There's obviously a very strong spring that holds this down, so that's going to be fun. got to work out how to put that back in. Anyway, it's all cleaned up for paint. I didn't use the dishwasher this time around. I just used soapy water, and then we'll put some acetate on there before we hit it with some paint. But I think I wanna work out that mechanism before we do that. Let's hope there's some information in here. Well, needless to say, I didn't read the manual. I figured it just needed prising up with a regular flat blade screwdriver, and bingo, we're back in place, so that's good. Well, I thought it'd be rude not to use some of our orange paint. I'm gonna go for like a stripe like I did in the Kawasaki. And if I don't like it, I'll paint over it. Simple. Anyway, the good news is that on that clutch cover there, the bolts are 40mm and 32mm, I think, and I have 35mm that seem to do the job for both. I have tested it, so hopefully we can just use one size bolt. How sensible would that be, Mr. Honda? Maybe. And the best news is that that ridge is just exactly near enough same as the size of the blue tape. Sweet. Anyway, I'm not going to do the black tonight, so I'm going to leave it overnight to cure. Impatient though I normally am. Well, there it is. We just have to put it back on again. Lovely. Given that the mechanism itself all looks shiny and dandy and operates nicely, I'm thinking that stiffness must be in the cable. So what I'm thinking, and I've not done this before, is to try and find somebody that can make a custom clutch cable that's the right length. It's a bit knackered there. I mean, I know that's only the outer casing. I've tried to put some oil down there, but I don't know if that's going to work. So what I'm thinking is I need to completely suss out the handlebar situation and then work out exactly what I need in terms of length of a clutch cable, and then the right fittings at either end, etc, etc, and get one made up. There are companies that make these, same as the brake lines that we're going to be ordering. Maybe our friends at Ven Hill make clutch cables too, I don't know. So that'll be a new one. Meantime, you may have noticed that the masking wasn't all that good on this, was it? No, bit of a screw up. So I'm exploring pinstriping, which I had from the Ducati. I won't be doing the double pinstripe, but use the thicker one just to tidy that up a little bit. Very sloppy. I know, I've got to look at the seat. I'm looking at the seat, okay? Anyway, having had the shock of oil pouring out the clutch cover when I took that off, I'm looking at the other side, which is where I would expect oil to come out of, and I think this cover here is probably not oil related, so maybe we can take that off and paint that up. I'm not sure about that one. Pretty sure that's got oil in it. Yes. And there's electrical stuff going in there, which implies that that's the stator. I don't know. Perhaps I should read the manual. I think that'll come off without any oil spewing out. And given that we got the drip tray readily available, I'm willing to give it a go. As per normal, an array of different length bolts, so medium length, ridiculously long length, and 2 shorties. So that looks all pretty horrible in there, doesn't it? And I'm pretty sure this chain needs replacing. I doubt it's the same length as the wrong one that I ordered for the other CB750, but it'd be nice if it was, wouldn't it? I'm going to count the links. Don't worry, I won't video that. Anyway, as was fairly evident, obviously the oil stuff is all that side, and this was an independent cover, so that's good. We can clean that up at our leisure, and maybe clean up the old gear shift, because we had to take that off. We had to take the other pedal off just to get to that bolt there. And next up, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to leave that. Pretty sure there's oil in there. And see what's behind that. That, I feel, is destined for the dishwasher. Well, this is not an exact science by any means. So there's the one end of it, and obviously it's travelling along the outside, around here. And then it's a little bit baggy, oops, and it's slipped. And I think it's the same problems I had before. I think it's just a few teeth too short. Regardless, I'm going to take this chain off, so we'll find out properly whether it fits or not, but I doubt it. Does actually, is it even the same? I don't think it's even the same size, is it? No, it's not. Yeah, this ain't going to work. Alright. We got to order a new chain. As expected, they're a bit stiff, and it's time for the impact driver. Another one of those must-have tools. Well, they were beyond stroppy, but anyway, it's off, as you can see. So it took several hits with Thor minor on the impact driver to get those boys out. That needs some serious cleanup, polishing, sanding, whatever. And then we'll do our plastic bag trick. If you haven't seen that before, stay tuned to paint that bit. Yeah, I'm not going to paint this. This actually looks quite good. The engine itself, I think it's factory original, black, and I think it just needs a clean up, so that's good. That bit in the middle is horrible, so we're going to have to paint that somehow. And that we've covered already. On the subject of painting, we might get a little bit carried away with some orange here, you never know. I'm sure there's some bits that would look good orange. Some bits that could be sanded down here. Nice little fins. Yeah, we can get a little bit creative with that cover, I'm sure. Well, I got a bit carried away while I was sanding things down and masking things up. So there's all kinds of stuff going on over here. Yeah. Who wants to see what that turns out like? Okay, you can probably see where I'm going with all this, right? Carrying the theme through. Let's see how that turns out. Got my box of goodies from Dime City Cycles in Florida. Yeah, great guys, really helpful. Come back immediately to any questions. So we got a lot of goodies here. We got fork oil. I'm not going to make that joke again. We've got our, hopefully, our replacement caps for the forks. 2 of, hopefully, yes. Some various kind of just hinges. They had a sale on, and it made sense to order $100 worth of stuff because then it was free shipping. So basically $20 worth of this is free because I would have paid it in shipping instead. We got a spring, another spring just in case. And what else? Ah, yes, and our brand new Kawasaki exhaust flange thing, bracket. Cool. Well, this is all very exciting. I don't know where to start. So much to do. Really want to finish this lot off, actually, especially this. Get that back on. Top it up with oil. Make sure we got no leaks. Get this looking nice. But I do want to do the forks as well. And that's obviously going to involve the oil and 6 fluid ounces thereof. And in order to not pollute our measuring jug that we use for cooking and things, what I did was measure out 6 fluid ounces of water into that container, and then I know that that's roughly the right amount. Clever, eh? Just checking the new part versus the old, and that looks to be about right before I try and screw it in, but that looks good. And beautifully made, may I say. Well worth $30 each. Didn't consider the O-ring side of things, so I've stolen that off the old one. Looks in pretty good nick. Alright, let's see if this fits. So we topped it up with oil. I used the factory recommended 10W. You can put in 10.5 or whatever. I think it just makes it slightly more stroppy. Is that the right word? You know what I mean. More damping. 22mm and fits like a glove. Beautiful. Lovely. Job done. Lovely. Very nice indeed. No more cables and things, air hoses and what have you. Started cleaning this up with sandpaper, fairly coarse grit to start with, and then we'll polish it up later with a bit of WD and a finer grit and maybe even a Scotch-Brite pad. But you can see what I was doing with the design now. Kind of cool, right? And then we're carrying that through with the gear shift, which is starting to look like some kind of, I don't know, dangerous snake. And yeah, and that cover there. I like it. So to finish that off, I can't be bothered to do it by hand, so what I've done is put one of those sanding wheels on the drill, put the drill in the vise, and I've got an instant sanding thing. I could probably get an attachment for this, I guess. And actually, I'm gonna try and find possibly a wire brush for one of these. It seems a bit silly to have two stones, right? Two grinding stones. So I'll probably get one of those. Alrighty, there it is. And there's that. Oh, we've seen that already. So let's put this stuff back on. So that's that cover back on. And you're wondering why it's covered in a plastic bag. Well, if you haven't seen my clever plastic bag masking technique, then stay tuned. This boy ain't going back on for a while, so I'm going to put it in a bag and just keep it safe somewhere. Alright, it's in this one. So later we can play pantomime when I'm looking for it, and you can go, ooh, it's behind you. There's the clutch stroke stator cover back on. And as you may remember, Honda decided to use two slightly different size bolts. I found one in between, which seems to work. I've just snugged them up at the moment, and it seems to work. So against my better judgment and honestly better advice from my buddy Mike at ADR, ItalianDesignAndRacing.com, it's a paper type gasket. I haven't used any silicone sealant, but his recommendation is simply this, that if it is a paper type gasket, silicone sealant can help. If it's plastic or metal, then don't use it. So, as I say, against better advice and judgment, I've just done what was already there because it wasn't leaking oil. So we'll see what happens when we actually tighten it up to the torque settings and refill the oil. But for now, I just wanted to get the cover back on so that's all just kind of sealed up. So it's just snugged, nothing more, and I won't be filling the oil until we come to restart the engine, which will be a long time away, I have to tell you. Just wondering at this point whether I should kind of continue that orange band theme on this here. I don't know, maybe we'll see about it. We can always do that at any point. Meantime, I'm going to keep the original bolts in here just in case we need them later, because my idea of using the same size doesn't work. But just in case you're doing exactly the same model, there you go. M6 35mm might work throughout. And if you want to know whether that might becomes a will, then you'll have to watch some future episodes when I fill it up with oil. So you better subscribe now. Anyway, that's a big enough dose of Hondas for anyone. I've got bumper cars to look after. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in again. If you haven't already subscribed, do give the video the thumbs up, and of course encourage others to watch my lunacy.